and I had always wanted to do ayahuasca, so I basically went to Ecuador with a friend and with a couple of friends, and we met a friend of ours there who lives in Quito, and she kind of said like, look, you want to do ayahuasca, you can go to my friend who's studying, he's on the red path, they call it, which is a long path. It's 40 years of quite extreme training.
Right.
I met this guy. He, at the start of, at some point during the red path, you go into the forest by yourself and drink ayahuasca every night for 30 nights. It's pretty extreme. Or she said, so this guy's in training, he's a good shaman. Blah.
And the ayahuasca is the one that lasts in your body for 10 hours or
yeah,
something.
at least.
So you're basically constantly.
But then she said, or you can go to Don Cesario, who's basically the known shaman in the area, and who the shaman go to when they do their practices. And we were like, well, obviously we want to go to this guy. But she was like, yeah, but he's 104 and he's kind of hard to get to, and I can't promise that you'll find him. Like the other guy can ring him, but Don Cesario, I don't know if he's alive, and I don't know if he's in his hut, but it's deep in the jungle. So we were like, well, we don't have a choice. It's obvious what we're going to do. We're going to try and find the Don. So we went, and then she wrote us kind of a map, like go to this place, get in a truck and go past the sign of an anaconda, and there'll be a canoe, get in the canoe, go this, and it was like 3 days travel. And we finally got to the La Sequoia people, which is the tribe on the edge of a river and deep in the Amazon, and we were meant to have a letter that she gave us in Spanish, that apparently Don Cesario's son would read, because she'd been there the year before, saying like, I'm the woman with the wolf, because she has this big dog. Remember me, I'm the woman with the wolf, these are my friends, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't give us a letter, she forgot, and we didn't have internet, so she couldn't send it to us. So we just got to this tribe, and they were like, who the hell are these gringos, like carrying all their bags? And we just said, shaman? And they were like, nah. This woman, I remember, she just looked at us like, we were like, ayahuasca ceremonia? She just stood there like, nah. And it was beautiful because she stood there and just went like this, but she didn't react in any other way. She didn't go like, come over here and sit down, or she didn't go like, go away now, or she didn't continue any kind of communication. She didn't even look at us anymore. She just went and then just stood there kind of like just dazed off. So we just stood there and we had this weird like 20 minutes of just standing next to this woman, and that's when I realized, these people are different. I never met people like that before, who have their whole idea of time was different. Anyway, we stood there for 20 minutes. We kind of were like, well, we're not going to go. We traveled 3 days to get here, but we didn't know what to do because we couldn't speak to anyone. So we just waited. And then we were like, oh, that's right. And then she said, someone else came and they said, Palm Casa, and just pointed into the forest. And we were like, Palm Casa, okay, I think I know what that means. So we just walked, they just said like that. So we just walked into the forest. Deep, thick forest. And then we walked for about half an hour and we saw a palm casa. We saw like a little house, and we went over to the house and we knocked, and this old lady came out. She looked 100, and she kind of went, we were like, shaman? It's so stupid now, think about it. And she was just like, no. So we, at that point, we were like, looked at each other and like, let's get the fuck out of the jungle. Like, and it was quite a nice moment because we accepted defeat. We were like, yes, we can go now. And then we left and we went back and we're trying to hitchhike another canoe to get back out of the jungle. So we're on the river waiting hoping for a canoe to come.
Hitchhiking canoes.
Well, yeah, that's how we got there. So we wanted to get out. So we waited. I mean, it's a canoe with a motor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a guy in it.
Yeah,
It's still like a long canoe, and it's like an hour with the boat down the river. And so we're waiting there, and then this younger guy came who looks kind of more, you know, he's got like kind of new clothes, and he comes over speaking Spanish, and then he kind of knows, as soon as he sees us, he knows what's going on. He knows why we're here. And he comes over and he says, you ayahuasca, yeah, come. And we get in his canoe and he drives around back to the house we were at. So it was the right house.
Yeah.
And introduces us to Don Cesario, which was the woman's husband.
Okay.
Which we didn't know because he can't walk and he's blind.
Yeah.
But I guess his son kind of realized I can make a bit of money from these guys.
Yeah.
That was basically it. And then he said, do you have tobacco? We're like, we don't have tobacco. And he said, well, we can't do the ceremony without tobacco.
I was like, dead man.
Yeah.
Do you have any tobacco?
Yeah. And then we were like, well, yeah, sorry, we don't have tobacco. So he went and found tobacco and he said, tonight at 7, come back. So we went down and swam, and then at 7 o'clock, we went and we wheeled Don Cesario up to the area where they do it. And
he had a wheelchair.
He had a wheelchair, and it was quite an experience, yeah.
So can you explain what was given to you? Or
Well, there was like a old crunkled up Coke bottle filled with some rancid black stuff. And he poured it into a cup. Yeah. And he was like, as soon as we saw him, he's already dressed in his shaman. Like, he never took his shaman clothes off. Completely red. Every part of his skin was painted red with some rock that they make into paint. Crazy big head thing. Like, he didn't know we were coming, and he was just in his hammock wearing this. And then he took us up, and he also drank as well.
Yeah. We
drank together. No, we sat in the hammocks, kind of waiting. And then a glow fly, the sun set, and a glow fly came and flashed green in the middle of us. And we were like, what? And then he kind of got up, and we were like, well, green. I guess it's time to go. It was really weird. And then he poured it, and we drank, and then we laid back in the hammocks, and about 4 hours later, we were kind of looking at each other like, whoa. And then he was making some ungodly, crazy noises the whole night. And it was hard to explain the trip, but it was it's beyond language. It's like trying to explain a strange dream. But it wasn't a strong psychedelic trip for me after doing strong mushroom trips. But the next morning, it's something about the ceremony and the whole experience. And people like the shamans, they often say this, like, it's not about so much they often say ayahuasca will give you what you need in that time. Mm. And I did ayahuasca about 3 days later, and with the other shaman, and I vomited violently for 4 hours. Zero psychedelic effect. I was just ill. And the shaman was like, yeah. And when I woke up the next day, I'd never felt better. I was beaming for 3 days. I don't know why. It was just my body happy that I was not sick anymore. But the shaman told me, like, yeah, that's what you needed. And another woman I was with, she completely tripped out and saw like her dead friend that had killed herself a week ago and had this big conversation with this serpent. And so I don't know. It's a very different experience. And then I spoke to the shaman, not Don Cesario, because I couldn't communicate with him at all. But I spoke to the younger shaman through my friend. He spoke Spanish, and I asked him about the chemistry behind, and wondered what he knew about the chemistry, because I know about the basic chemistry of how ayahuasca works, about how one plant has DMT and the other this inhibitor in the guts. And I asked him if he knew about this stuff, and his response was super interesting, because he said, I don't have anything to do with this information, and I'm not interested in it in the slightest. And he told me one of his friends who was also on the red path to become a shaman learnt this stuff, and it took him off the path. And I kind of thought about that, and I thought, well, surely you could learn actually. But for them, it's not about chemistry. It's about the moon. It's about the spirits of the forest and how they're interplaying with each other at that moment, and how they're connected to the moon at that moment. So when you start to mix in like, well, actually not, it's actually the DMT in your gut reacting to the brain, whatever.
It's diminishing the actual, it's saying it's really just hallucinations. Your brain is playing tricks on you.
Yeah, it's almost just kind of conflicting paradigms. And he was very clear that was dangerous to his shamanistic powers.